Hey, friends! I'm Jesse Fisco.
And I'm Ambry Fisco.
As founders of several successful businesses, we've experienced absolute joy and satisfaction working together to build our empire.
Our journey started off as a small business idea and has launched into a multi-million-dollar portfolio. It would have never been possible had Jesse and I not understood the key principles of making it all work together. But it has not been easy.
We found ourselves in the trenches trying to balance real life with business life while maintaining our strong commitment to creating an amazing marriage.
And we've emerged in a beautiful way together. This podcast was created to help you do what we've done, build an amazing marriage together while maintaining balance between life and business.
So here we are. You're listening to the Matrimonial Merger, a couple's guide to balancing life and business.
Let's get started. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome back. This is the Matrimonial Merger with Jesse and Ambry Fisco.
I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day.
Yes. Every day is a fantastic day.
Every day is fantastic.
That's a choice.
It is. And in fact, you mentioned that, and I've been focusing the last week on thinking nothing but positive thoughts. Mm-hmm. So anytime I have a negative, I go tell myself, that's extremely unresourceful. What's the positive? What can you learn from it? And how can you be more resourceful? And I honestly don't even recognize myself.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Interesting.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the pinnacle was when I was talking to Quincy and she just looked at me and she's like, I'm so confused because usually you would be mad, but I don't know what you are anymore. Yeah. It was just way funny.
She's you're not mad at me.
You're not
but
mad.
I don't know what I feel.
But I don't know what I feel. I used a lot of hypnotic language. It was awesome.
pretty great.
It was a great experience. So I've been focusing on keeping a very positive state. And quite frankly, there's been some really cool experiences because of that.
Yeah, there has.
I can't wait to tell you guys. You'll have to stay tuned as we get deeper in this episode.
Yeah, it makes a difference. And I've definitely noticed a difference. It's kind of funny. I wouldn't say I'm road rage type person necessarily, but when someone makes a move on the road that I think is somewhat silly, I'm definitely want to say something. Be What was that? What the heck?
Yeah, me too.
Or okay, just some remark. I'm not one to yell or flip people off or anything like that, but definitely want to make a remark or two. So the other day, I remember we're driving somewhere and someone cut us off or something. And I'm just over there really? And Jesse is I am really glad that they're driving in the best, most safe way possible that they feel for their family or something like that. And I was huh?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, what?
No negative thoughts over here.
I was that was cool.
Yeah.
I was a good, cool. Check for me. Just a mental check to be oh, wow. Yeah. There's so many little things, even when you're striving for positivity and, keeping a positive mindset, those thoughts creep in.
Oh, yeah.
And habits like that are, they take time and practice and energy.
And it may seem subtle, but you're exactly right. That's what they do is they take your energy and that energy starts to put you into different states. And so,
but that energy translates over into other areas of your life. So
yes,
it's really important to be mindful.
I love it.
So thanks for your example this week.
I think what's the most important really is before we jump into this show, Ambry and I can't stress enough this philosophy, but there's no such thing as an unresourceful person, just an unresourceful state.
Yeah. One of our favorite things that one of our coaches tells us.
Yeah.
No such thing as an unresourceful person, only unresourceful states. So what's a state?
That's what we're getting into today. I'm super excited.
There we go. We're not talking, Texas, Utah, Tennessee, not that kind of state.
No, we're talking about the states that take
states of mind, states of emotion,
your energy.
Yeah.
Right? Or it dictates your energy to flow in a different pattern.
Emotional states.
Where focus goes, energy flows. Mm-hmm. Right? We've talked about that on another episode. So at times, one might find themselves in an emotional state that's extremely unresourceful. Right?
Sure.
It's really, really hard to make a good business decision or a good family decision if you're extremely mad at the person that you're trying to work with. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've all been there at work where there's that one person that we may or may not like, and because they say something, even though it could be a good idea, we're instantly like, well, stupid. Like, you know what I mean? And that's because we're in an unresourceful state. We're not recognizing the issue. We're too busy in our own headspace going after those things.
And even when you just face any kind of problem in the workplace, running a business, relationships, anything like that, like being in a negative emotional state, it 100% affects the way that you're going to respond to that situation, and it affects your resourcefulness, like Jesse mentioned, and it literally can ruin, relationships, careers, opportunities, investment opportunities. All these things can become sabotaged by your emotional state.
So I'm going to paint a picture real quick, because if someone knows someone that has been able to do this, then I'd love to meet this person. But let's say that you have a very, very important decision to make in your life or your family. Mm-hmm. And you come home and you are just absolutely heated. But that decision has to be made. Mm-hmm. Do you think that you're going to make the right decision?
No.
No, right? You're going to make the decision based off of the heat of the moment. Yeah. And ultimately that decision is generally never the right decision to be made.
Yeah.
And it's because realistically, your emotional state is putting you into a quick, assumptive, let's hurry and get this done type of mentality. And you're not really looking out for anyone but yourself in that moment. It's literally, you're so focused on you that you're forgetting the big picture. And it's on... Going back to one of our other episodes, it's a very micro focus why you're upset usually.
And even if you do arrive at that right or ideal outcome, wouldn't you if there's a better way to get there?
Yes.
If the way to get to that outcome didn't have to include anger, fear, sadness, guilt, doubt, just to name a few of those negative emotional states. If you could get to that same ideal solution or, situation without that, you'd like that, wouldn't you? Who wouldn't like that?
100%. And I mean, when you are in a negative state, you're not doing yourself or anyone favors either.
No.
The longer you're in that mental state or that negative state, the worse it's going to be for other people around you. Yeah. Because everyone around you is trying to continue to move forward, but you're over there stuck in the micro aspect of one event. So what if a client fired you?
Yeah.
So what if you got cut off on the streets? What really matters is you getting out of that negative state and being back into a positive flow. Yeah. One thing that I can't stress out enough is this story here. Last week, we've been looking at positivity, and that's been my main focus, is whenever I feel negative, I need to think positively.
Yeah.
And just get out of that state. So recently, one of our employees, due to work and time restraints, had to take a step back, which has kind of put us in a predicament as we're trying to grow. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying that that's bad. I totally get
you totally supported it
going
and
encouraged to school. I definitely encouraged it. But when you're going to school and working and trying to do the demands of what we were wanting to do, you don't have a social life, and there's more stuff that keeps popping up, and it's just a spiral effect. So we decided with this particular employee just to take a break for a moment, just shut it down on our side of things.
Take the stress out of it, because there's no, we want to have fun, work and what we're doing should be enjoyable.
Right.
And if it's not, and it's just stressful, then, stress is not necessarily a resourceful state either. So let's reevaluate that.
Absolutely. And so what was interesting with that whole thing is instead of getting frustrated or negative, I just said, you know what? This is the best for this individual right now. And although this situation isn't convenient for me, I have an opportunity to learn. And I got very curious. Kid you not, right after all that happened, we walk into Costco And lo and behold, we ran into someone that did video projects for us in the past. Mm-hmm. And this particular employee did a lot of video for us. And we just got to talking. And I was like, dude, like, give me your, shoot me a text if you're interested in discussing more. And sure enough, an hour later, I'm getting a text message from him. Mm-hmm. Now, had I been in a very negative state, I would not have wanted to talk to that guy. I would have been dwelling on things. I may have not even gone into Costco, or if I did, I would have just been like very short, and it would not have been a good environment.
The opportunity may not have presented itself. And on that note too, like people, like we talk about energy and we talk about, the states, people can feel that.
Oh yeah.
So like hypothetically, you could say potentially, would he have even approached you and said hi if he was getting like anxious, nervous, upset vibes from you? I don't know. And no, we can't say for sure, but I know like if I run into someone I know and I sense like that kind of energy, like I'm not as prone to like want to linger and talk to them and like create conversation, because I'm like, oh, like, they're in a rush or they're this or that. So
it's funny you mentioned that, because I experienced that with two people today I ran into, and I was just like, wow, like that energy, there's something off here. So I'm just going to kind of like, scoot away. I don't know what it is, but I'm not going to allow it to affect me.
But who knows, because of those situations, what kind of opportunities do you or the other person miss or not see, because there's that distraction of this like anxious energy.
Right. The thing to think about, like, just to kind of elaborate more, because you know me, I like to get really deep here. But a lot of times you may be sitting there going, hey, I'm just waiting for my big break. Mm-hmm. And your big break could literally be right in front of you, but because you're too focused on how you never get a break, that break just kind of passes by. You may have missed your break that you were looking for because of an emotional state.
Yeah. The great thing about that is it could be just as simple for you as learning how to change your emotional state on the flip of a switch. And that's possible.
Totally.
And if that's the, barrier standing between you and your breakthrough, like, heck yeah, let's do it, because you're right there and this isn't going to be hard.
Absolutely. And I think that for me, this is something that has really changed the scope of how I parent and how I have a relationship with you and relationships with others, right?
Totally.
A lot of people are going, man, I've noticed a huge change. And even this week, like, something's different about you is the feedback I've gotten. And it's like, well, yeah, because I'm focusing on positive things. Yeah. And I'm not dwelling on the little things. I'm focusing on the bigger scope. And because of that positive emotion, I've been able to just continue to move forward and make quicker decisions. And those decisions have been making more opportunities. It's been fun.
It's really cool.
And so
it's exciting stuff. And I think, I don't know, on that note, it's like when you are able to walk into a conversation and you know that you're in control of your emotional state, you'll, like, I don't know if control is the right word, but you will like be the most like
influential person.
Yes, that's a good word. You'll be an influential communicator in that situation. Like, because now, like, you are creating the tone. You're setting the tone. I don't know. You're setting the stage standard, for what the standard for the conversation. Yeah. I like that word. Standard.
Absolutely.
And if that's what you're doing, like, naturally it should flow. And other people will recognize that and realize, like, oh, there's not really a space for like just like downright negativity. Like, sure, we're all going to have moments, right? But being able to turn those moments around and like, and learn the boundaries. Like we were talking last night to some friends, and kind of joking about, like sometimes in marriage, you have to have like a rule that like, you don't talk about stuff after 10 o'clock at night. Cause like a lot of times when you're tired, those negative emotional states manifest themselves easier and quicker. And so being able to understand that, and like, we actually had this happen last night or the night before where we're trying to work through some decisions, and, finally we're just like, great. Like, we have all this, data we've created and things we need to think about, but like right now is not the right time. Right. So let's like walk away from this, go to bed, and talk about this when we are in a more resourceful state.
Well, and I think what's important is we were in a resourceful state, but because of the details and everything and the time, we both recognized really quickly that we needed to postpone this. We didn't have to solve the problem right then and there. And I think that that's because we were in a very resourceful state of mind, recognizing and feeling the energy going, okay, this energy is starting to creep downhill a little bit and could go down a very dangerous road.
Let's shift
and pivot, get out of there.
Yeah.
And I think that that's also a very awesome attribute and quality that we all have as human beings, is to be able to recognize that.
Totally.
However, if you're in a emotional state that is like a little bit self-conscious, or an emotional state that you're feeling a little awkward, well, that's where the energy starts to go. Yeah. And it requires you to feel confident in yourself as well.
Yeah. That nonverbal energy / communication is powerful. You can feel that from another person. I'm sure you can all think of a time when, you've been talking to someone, and even though their words might be one thing, you can feel that their energy and the way they feel is not congruent with what they're actually saying.
Like the person when you go, how's business? And they're going, it's great, but their head is shaking no. And
oh my gosh, yes.
It's great.
We were at one of our retreats last month, and one of our coaches was using that analogy, and we were just laughing, going I never even thought of that. Literally, sometimes you ask someone something, and while they're saying yes, they're shaking their head at you no. And it's wait. So is it yes or no?
Right. What's going on over here? In fact, they're not even incongruent with themselves. Their body's saying no, and everything's not okay. Here's all the stress. Yeah. Meanwhile, they're over there lying to you.
Hey, how's your business? And they're shaking their head no, and saying, yeah, it's great. It's so good.
Oh yeah.
And you're but you're shaking your head no.
Why aren't you shaking your head yes?
You don't agree with yourself.
Right. It's interesting.
It's very interesting. But that goes in line with speaking to the fact that our unconscious minds are powerful, and we're going to talk more next week. So stay tuned. Next week's going to be all about the unconscious mind, because we talk about that a lot in our podcast episodes. So we're going to dive into that more next week, but really it goes to show how powerful your unconscious mind is. And if you aren't convinced and believe what you're saying, your body or your words, they don't align. You're not, it's not aligned or congruent, but
so, with today's episode, one thing we wanted to talk about, and it may be a shorter episode than what you guys are used to, but what we wanted to talk to you guys about today is setting what's called an anchor. And we want you guys to think of an anchor really quickly as to what that is. An anchor, when it comes to a boat, is literally put on the ground so that it will withstand the currents. And that's extremely important, because we need to be able to withstand our own emotional currents at some point.
Sure.
And I think that that's huge. So establishing anchors and being able to create an environment when you feel a certain way, you can simply touch your knuckle with your other finger, or pull your ear, or, put your fingers and thumb together and create some sort of emotional touch sensation tied to a feeling that you want to feel.
I like that. And most of you may know, Jesse and I are pretty religious. And there's a scripture that says, when you talked about a boat being anchored, it made me think of the scripture that says being anchored in faith. See if I can pull up that scripture here.
While you're doing that.
Well, go ahead.
Before we get into the anchors, I think the first thing that I would recommend is first taking a deep breath and letting go of the feelings, right? We went through an extensive breath work where they were talking about when you breathe, the longer you go in between breathing, the more, was it carbon dioxide gets to
don't even ask me. I don't remember.
It gets to your blood tissues, and it helps restore energy. So the longer you take,
you receive
to breathe,
bigger benefits overall.
You get bigger benefits. Yeah. And that was what was way cool, is learning about that. But he said when people get anxious and when people get into a like an emotional state that's unresourceful, then their muscle tissues and everything tenses up because they're not getting the carbon dioxide that their body needs to function.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. So he's like, you literally, like, you can just tell when someone's nervous because everything tightens up and they're breathing from their chest and not naturally through their abdomen section.
Yeah.
So taking a deep breath is like super important.
For sure. And I think like even just you talking about that, like I start to feel the effects of feeling like anxious. Like our bodies are so in tune. It's like you hear that, you start like thinking about it. You can imagine what it feels like. You know, your breath starts to quicken, your heart rate goes up, and your body is kind of responding to your emotion in a fight or flight way. And although like you may not be physically threatened, your body's taking defense physically, like something is wrong. But as you can like focus on your breathing, and like you'll notice the incredible calming effects that come over your body very quickly. Your heart rate will come down. You begin to literally think more clearly, and that can cause your emotional state to change and become more resourceful. So
I'd say some of the other things to do too. Yeah. And this is if you don't have an emotional anchor. We're going to help you guys at the end of this episode, so stay with us. Like this is going places. But another thing I would say is just move.
Yeah, right? Movement.
Get moving. Move
One
your body.
One of my favorites.
Go outside for a quick walk. In some cases, like if you're talking face to face with someone and you start feeling this way, you don't have to physically move. Just move the conversation. Like something you could literally do to deter the conversation and feel like you're back in a sense of control is ask them if they smell something. Like, do you smell popcorn? Right? Oh, I don't. Oh, you don't? Oh, man. Or change it to something that's, funny or a deterrent in the conversation. Move the conversation that's making you feel awkward. Like, you could literally say something like poop, right?
Oh my gosh.
And you start laughing, you go, oh my gosh, right? But like you could literally
it depends on the situation, because like if we're having a conversation and you said something like that, I'd be like, you're full of crap over there. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. But definitely dependent on the conversation and who that conversation is with. There's ways that you can shift. And if you're open to like the idea of considering the other person's standpoint, like you can shift into like their standpoint and start asking questions and having the mindset of like maybe what they're perceiving. And all of a sudden you can shift that around, and I feel like there, with like the last 2 minutes of what we just talked about, we could branch off like 10 different episodes.
Oh, absolutely.
Just talking 100%. About like, building rapport with people, how to like break, like put a break in that emotional state that someone else is in and interrupt it.
Yeah.
And anyways,
I would just say
so much more to come on that, but yeah, movement in a conversation, and also physical movement and like maybe not necessarily right in the conversation. Sometimes if it's, an intimate relationship, you can just say, hey, I need to walk away for a minute, right? That may not work in every situation, but if it does, great. If not, like in general, consider making like exercise part of your daily routine, because just that like will help reduce your stress and strengthen your ability to manage stress. So when those situations arise, you automatically are more equipped with the tools needed to manage those situations effectively and be in control of your emotional state. And that's going to make all the difference.
Yeah.
So,
and I'd say the last two is just change it, right?
Yeah, you can change it.
Like it literally, you just have to learn to change your emotional state. And a great way, go back and listen to our Chunk Up, Chunk Down, the Let's Get Chunky episode. Literally, one of the easiest ways to get out of a negative state is ask yourself, what purpose does this feeling serve? And then it puts you into a state of curiosity. Yeah. And before you know it, you're now exploring why. And in some cases, maybe even going back to like 10 generations of feelings that have been passed down to you, right? Yeah. Like because you've gone so chunked up and so broad with your thought process, you literally forget the micro thing you were worried about or feeling. Right?
And it's true because, every emotion that we experience, there's a purpose there. There's a message, there's something there. So like it could be like protection for yourself, right? Like you feel fear because your unconscious mind is trying to protect you, or, whatever that is. But like, if you can figure out why or what the purpose is behind that, it's so much easier to understand and change it. And then that's where the true shift comes as well, because that's where it can become less effort, even where you don't even have to think about it. And it's like a negative emotional state arises and you're just able to like immediately switch it and immediately like respond in a positive and resourceful way. So, and thinking about like, what would you rather feel instead? And this will kind of tie into like what we talked about with helping you guys create an anchor. But like, if you're feeling a certain way that you don't necessarily want to feel, really like think, what do I want to feel instead? Like how can I turn this into a resourceful state or a positive emotional state?
100%. So I'm super excited to kind of jump into the anchor. And so before we jump in, I know I didn't need like an actual scripture, but it's John 14:26, where it talks about being anchored in faith. And when you talked about like a boat and its anchor and how that creates like the steadiness, that scripture came to my mind because it's like, what is the purpose of faith? The purpose of faith is to help us through life storms, right? Like, and keep us steady. Well, faith is an emotional state. So like fear or something else comes into play. Well, something like an anchor of faith can help turn that around and help us be more resourceful, right? So like faith and fear can't be in the same sentence room, right?
Totally. And using that as an analogy to kind of pull us back into our like physical anchor that we're going to show you is kind of cool, because these anchors really can help flip those emotional states and help you create them to be resourceful. So
to kind of build up the hype of these anchors that we're about ready to walk you through, I started an anchor where I would just take my thumb and my two fingers and put them together. Yeah. Just kind of create almost like an Italian guy going, "Give me the money," like kind of.
That's like, what it looks like.
That's what it looks like, but
just slow.
I created an anchor where I wanted to feel peace and calmness.
Yeah.
Right. And so the other day I was playing basketball and I was just like getting in my own headspace. This had to have been like a month ago, actually, like, because I've been practicing these anchors, and I was just in my own headspace. I can't make a shot. And I remembered, I could actually like calm. So I dribble the ball with my left hand, my right hand. I just do this little anchor, take a deep breath, feel calmness, went off and hit 3 3-pointers in a row. The next couple possessions ended up going and winning the game, because it literally took me from a state of anxiousness and frustration to a sense of confidence and a sense of calmness. And before I knew it, I was dropping 3-pointers and having a lot better game. Yeah. And it's because I was able to go from one emotional state that was just having a huge effect on me to a positive mental state where I was once again focused and prepared. So cool.
Like imagine being able to take a stressful, fearful, doubtful, anger, some situation, whatever that is, and with a quick like physical symbol, attach that to an emotional state that like immediately you can feel. That's powerful. What would that do for you? Right. Like that right there is power. And I know I've seen you use that as well, like in situations with the kids when car rides are stressful, or, shopping trip is stressful, or whatever it is. And it's like those emotions arise, those negative emotions arise. And all of a sudden, like with that quick action with your fingers, you're able to bring in calm, peace, understanding. Like
your body is really so cool. In tune with your mind, right? Because your mind is what operates your body, and your body and mind are so aligned together that when you give a physical touch like that and you've installed an anchor in your mind, it will help you. It will listen. It will listen 100%. So your body is what's creating this like tension and this stress, right? Because we talked about your breathing changes, your body, physical responses come in. Your blood literally starts to boil. Yeah. Well, your mind can overpower it with the sense of touch and with that alignment. So I'm super excited to help you guys establish an anchor today. But I want you all to go real quick to the last emotional blow up you had, or a feeling of like, oh man, like you just weren't in the right state of
Didn't
mind.
like the way you felt.
You didn't like the way you felt.
Yeah, or didn't like the outcome of the situation because of the way you felt.
Exactly. And you know what that is. Mm-hmm. Don't dwell on it long, right? Because we're not going to put you guys back into an emotional state of frustration.
Yeah.
We're here in a way to fix this, but think about that and the way you felt.
So
now, imagine being able to feel something different. What do you want to feel instead?
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted.
No, I interrupted you actually. You're good. I was just going to say like for the sake of this exercise, we're going to walk you through like how to create an anchor. So if you're able and you want to walk through this with us while you're listening, great. If not, listen and then go back and do this on your own later. Make sure that you're in a safe, quiet environment where you can safely close your eyes and think deeply. So like obviously if you're driving or, working on something, this may not be the time, but you can listen through. And then when you are in a position to, sit quietly, then come back to this and try this out with us. Jesse, for the sake of like showing this exercise, should we pick one specific emotional state that might apply to a lot of people? Like maybe being more confident or more calm.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Let's do confidence.
Okay.
And as we go through this, we want you to determine, close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths.
Yeah.
Really feel your stomach push out and breathe in through the nose and then breathe out through the mouth.
Slowly controlled.
Slow and controlled.
Effortlessly controlled.
Clear your mind. So until your mind is 100% clear, and what we mean by clear is like you're not thinking or stressing or like focusing on anything. You're just clear. Close your eyes.
Okay, so 3 deep breaths.
Yep, 3 deep breaths. There's a great example. So, as you do that, close your eyes and remember a time, since we're focusing on confidence, remember a time that you were truly confident. Nothing could stop you. You felt
think of a specific time.
Control of your environment. You knew what you were doing, and you knew it was going to result in what that was. Mm-hmm. Like that result was going to happen.
A memory will come to your mind. Just relax. Let that memory come into your mind. A time when you just naturally felt super confident.
And as you have that time, we're going to be very specific here. We're going to have you take your index finger on your right hand. And we're going to have you touch your left index knuckle. And think about that. Just continue to hold it there and think about the confidence.
So hold your finger on your knuckle firmly. Mm-hmm. And as you think about this time when you felt truly confident, remember what you saw. What did you hear? Remember how you felt being totally confident. Put yourself inside that memory as if you're reliving it right now. Not from a distance, but you're in that memory. You're there right now, feeling super confident. As you feel that confidence coming over you in the same way you felt at that time, you're going to activate your anchor with that finger on your knuckle. And then once you feel like you've truly felt that feeling of being confident, you can release your finger from your knuckle.
Perfect. As you do that, we invite you to now go put your finger on the knuckle.
Yeah, if you want to test the anchor, you can
see if you feel different. You'll notice a small feeling of difference.
Yeah.
Like it may be subtle or it may be really big.
Yeah. And maybe if the first time like you were like, wait, what was I doing?
Yeah.
Go back and listen to this again. This is an exercise that's a little difficult to do over like a podcast.
Yeah.
But we're telling you how to do it so you can go even, find a friend or your spouse or whatever, someone that can help you walk through this process together. So go back and listen to how you do it. We can go back through the steps quickly. So you're going to determine what you want to feel instead. So maybe that's more confident, or you want to feel calm. You want to feel brave. You want to feel whatever that resourceful state is. Pick one.
100% BA mofo.
Okay. Do you have an anchor for that, Jesse?
Oh, yes. Let's go.
I don't want to know. Anyways.
Do you like how I kept it G-rated, though, for the show? There you go.
Oh, sometimes, like,
Mom, what's a BA mofo?
Jesse. Sometimes when, like, if we're doing these anchors, depending on what the emotion is, I'm wondering very intently, like, what the heck Jesse's memory is that he's anchoring. Like, what is that? Sometimes I don't want to know.
No, I mean,
I'm just kidding.
I could tell you one thing in specific. Like, I'm a huge basketball fan, and I remember when I dropped 32 points on the team that cut me.
Nice.
I was, in that moment,
that's awesome.
100% confident, to the point where, like, I'm yelling at the coach. I mean, 13 years old, yelling at the coach saying, like, you know,
how do you like
stupid?
Me now?
Like, yeah, exactly. Just looking at him, just saying, you cut me, like, you should be cutting him, pointing at the guy.
Yeah.
He can't guard me. And I just remember that confidence.
Man. If I could have been a fly on the wall.
Oh, it was ugly, right? Coach went with his tail between the legs, and I'm walking out feeling like a champion, right?
Yeah.
And that was the thing, is, like, remember a time like that where you just felt completely unstoppable. Maybe it was a personal record at the gym, you know?
Sure.
Maybe it was you closed one of the biggest deals. Like, I remember when since we practiced real estate, when Utah State University called us and said, hey, you guys got the job to sell our university.
Yeah.
I mean, out of the 7 other agents that they interviewed, I felt good, right?
Yeah.
Like, I felt really good. And then it felt even better when it closed.
Right.
And so things like that, you guys, like, figure out that time where
those are the moments you want to anchor. I know
those are the moments.
When we were doing this exercise a while back, like, for me, one of the things that came to my mind really quick was, like, the experience of, like, being in labor and giving birth. Like, that was, like, so euphoric for me, and that I felt completely limitless in that situation.
Oh yeah.
And feeling limitless is, like, my ultimate goal. Like, that's what I want. And so find whatever that memory is that attaches to that emotional state that you want, and anchor the heck out of it. So really quick, we'll go back through these steps with you. So if you want to go back and do this exercise with someone, you can. But so, you know, you're going to determine how you want to feel. So like we said, either more confident, more calm, whatever that is, determine that feeling that you want, that emotion that you want. And then you're going to think about a time when you felt that 100%, and just let that memory come. And then you're going to have chosen your anchor device, which is the example we gave was putting your right index finger over your left knuckle. It can be any finger, any knuckle, but choose what you want that to be for you. It could be putting your fingers together. It could be, you know, touching your ear, whatever. Yeah. It could be whatever you want, but
scratching your head.
Hands, you know, if you are in a situation, can be pretty, like, subtle, right? So, like, it's not like you're, you know, tapping your head in front of someone when you're trying to calm yourself. So anyways,
there has to be some form of touch.
There does need to be, like, it's like a symbol behind your anchor. So index finger and knuckle is an easy one. So you're going to choose what that anchor device is. So if it's your index finger and knuckle, you'll have that ready. And as you've picked the experience, and then as you really close your eyes, breathe, dive into that experience, remember exactly what you saw, what you heard, what you felt. And as, like, those feelings come in, you're going to touch your knuckle or whatever you chose and hold it firmly until that feeling kind of begins to subside, and then let go.
It even helps to declare, too. Every time I touch my knuckle, I will feel this, right?
Yeah.
Make a declaration.
Afterwards, you say, like, this anchor is set every time I do this.
Jose Silva, who's, like, a very good hypnosis, read one of his books, and he said that very thing is, like, declaring will make things stick even more.
That's cool. Makes all the sense in the world. Yeah. And, like, what was I going to say? It's gone.
Sorry, we're really good at cutting each other off tonight.
It's okay. We're just so excited. But yeah, so after that you'll release your thumb and finger or whatever that is, and your anchor should be set. Yep. I remember what I was going to say. So I know something a lot of people wonder is, like, can you, like, if I'm using my index finger and my knuckle, can I anchor more than one feeling to that same spot? 100% you can. So, like, what if when I touch my knuckle, I feel confident, calm, self-assured, unstoppable, like all of these amazing emotions that I want to feel. Like that's, that's
It'd be like the Incredible Hulk of like emotions.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're like, yeah.
Okay, the thought that came to my mind, and we have kids when,
Yeah.
was the like Kung Fu Panda, the like skadoosh or whatever that is.
Yeah,
Is that
the
what it's
super
called?
mega pinky hold thing.
That one where it's like the pinky goes down and just like every.
I thought of the
don't know.
Kool-Aid
If
Man
you've
that
never
busts through
seen
the
that,
wall.
you're like, what the heck? But I thought of Kung Fu Panda.
I'm a 90s kid, so just being like, oh yeah, busts through the wall. Like I could see someone's
How would you like to feel like that just by touching your knuckles?
You could take
like Thanos.
I mean, yeah. Whoa. Heavy. Like that'd be really cool. I mean, you guys, this is what these anchors are supposed to do, is they're supposed to help you get through these moments. The most important thing with these anchors, though, they don't work unless you use it.
Yeah,
right?
and you believe it, too.
And you got to believe it. But I think the biggest thing is when you're feeling a certain way, you have a choice. I mean, and the choice is really this. You can continue to stay in this habit loop you are of going into a negative thought, or you can try something different. Now, the cool part is it's so simple. After you've practiced this, all you got to do is touch your knuckle and wait and see the results. But I promise you that if you do these things, the opportunities and the way you're going to feel so much better. Yeah. Like, I don't want to take depression lightly, but if you found yourself going into a depressive state, or a state of depression, you could literally use these anchors to help pull yourself out a little bit.
Yeah, and if you're combining that with understanding how to breathe properly and, having positive movement with your body daily, imagine like the power that you could have over, over those things that come, the anxieties, the depression, that's incredible.
We're doctors here.
No, not at all. But if you could have these tools, wouldn't you want them?
Oh, absolutely.
These tools that you could use to aid whatever other measures or whatever other, things you're doing or taking to help yourself.
Yeah.
If you could have more to empower, you would want to do that.
Well, especially, I mean, like I ran out of pre-workout and I'm like day 5 without it. If you're behind like me and procrastinate sometimes, the necessity of your caffeinated beverage, like you may find yourself using these emotional states quite frequently. And that's okay. But like while I'm waiting for my pre-workout to arrive at my doorstep,
I'm going to hide it.
I can use my emotional anchors to help keep me grounded for the time being. I can literally stay in check throughout the storms of every day. But you guys, I promise you, there's great power in thinking positive. You want to hear about successful people and wealth accumulation? Number one thing they say is you become bigger than the obstacle in front of you. Yeah. You have to become bigger than that. You can't let the obstacle in front of you take you down. So if you're feeling a lack of confidence talking to your boss, talking to your spouse, or you're feeling anxious because you're in a new environment where you feel completely uncomfortable, if you use these powers and become bigger than the obstacle, you're unstoppable. And that's going to translate into other aspects in your life. And that big break that you're looking for may actually show up faster or even bigger break than what you thought, because you're able to conquer your emotions in a given time. Yeah. So,
and to put it very directly, like there's no victims on the road to success. Like none. It's 100% accountability. It's 100% ownership over, your circumstances, your feelings, your emotions, even those of people around you, being 100% accountable and in charge. And you totally can.
You will be.
You will be.
After listening to this episode of Establishing Your Anchor, you are going to be...
That is such a great first step.
Yeah,
I love
totally. This changed, we've been working on this for the last year, and this has changed so much. This episode, we were both, jumping through... Yeah. If you could see us right now, we'd be jumping through the screen, wanting to give you a hug, because this is so great.
And imagine, if you are a parent, imagine being able to help your children to understand and take authority over their emotions, and then help them understand how to lean into that emotion and understand it and understand the purpose of it, but then be able to shift it into something positive so that they can move forward and create and be and do.
Well, we help Quincy establish an emotional anchor, and she does the same thing to feel peace. She puts her 2 fingers with her thumb. Now, what's ironic is sometimes she's like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, because you know you're going to feel
it.
better, right? And so, like, she chooses to be in that state, and that's a whole different aspect.
Oh,
of,
I
like,
feel that way sometimes.
But, like, once again, she knows it's there.
Yeah.
She knows that anchor is there to help her. Now it's her choice to utilize it.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what we as parents are helping her understand now is, like, it's better to choose that and become resourceful instead of staying in this give me candy.
And it's not to create like negativity around these emotions because they're real. And especially for like a child, they're learning to understand like why they feel angry, why they feel frustrated, why they feel doubt. Like, and that's okay. You know, like it's okay. But once again, being able to help them understand the purpose of those feelings and how to shift them into a resourceful state. That's powerful.
Totally.
Because it's okay to feel. We need to feel. Yeah. We need to, those emotions. I mean, if we didn't have those, we wouldn't understand what it's like to be happy, joyful, confident, powerful. Like that wouldn't mean anything.
Sure.
So like, as you know, before we close, like, this is not to say that that's bad. It's just, how can you turn those into a resourceful feeling so that you can go and achieve and do the things that you ultimately want to do with the outcome that you desire? So
it's crazy. I love this episode.
Yeah.
And I think that at this point we probably should end the episode because we would probably be here for another 45 minutes talking.
There's always next week.
There's
and look forward to next week talking about the unconscious mind and kind of diving into that a little more in case like maybe that sounds a little elusive in some points.
Favorite episode to date.
I'm excited.
The opportunities, like you want to talk about crazy stuff, a little sneak peek. Your unconscious mind can be tied as far as deity if you believe that there's a God. If not, it's tied to the creation of you as a being and the elements and the energy that makes up the entire solar system. Now, if all those things were together and there's that energy and they all work conducively, like together, what could you or could you not create? Yeah. And I'm going to leave it at that.
There's your cliffhanger.
This is going to be an awesome episode. So tune in for the following week here.
Yeah. Next Wednesday. We can't wait to talk to you again. In the meantime, thank you for being here and spending this time on a Wednesday with us, or maybe it's Thursday or Friday. I don't know what day it is for you by the time you listen to this, but thank you for being here and being a part of this community and this purpose. And if you feel so inclined, we'd love a 5-star review to help us grow this community and help empower more people and be a part of something incredible. And we'd love to have you in on that. So thank you, and we will be back next Wednesday with another episode.
See y'all next week.
Have a great week.